The coffee had gone cold in Adam Cole's hand before he realized it. He stood at the kitchen window, watching pine branches sway in the October wind, their needles catching the pale morning light. Behind him, Rose made small cooing sounds from her bassinet, those sweet, drowsy noises that meant she'd sleep another 20 minutes if he stayed quiet, if he stayed lucky. Ready, Shirley appeared in the doorway, pulling her jacket on. Her hair was pulled back in a messy bun, the kind she wore when she hadn't slept well. Dark circles pressed under her eyes. Rose had been up 3 times in the night. Mom texted, "She'll meet us there." Adam's jaw tightened. He set the mug down carefully, kept his voice neutral. "I thought it was just us today. She wants to see Rose." Shirley crossed to the bassinet, smiling down at their daughter. "It's been almost a week. 3 days. Adam." She didn't look at him. "She's my mother." He wanted to say that her mother had called him lazy last Sunday, had told Shirley she'd marry beneath herself, had suggested, loudly, while he stood right there, that maybe the baby cried so much because Adam worked too many hours. He wanted to say a lot of things. Instead, he grabbed his keys. The park sat on the east edge of their neighborhood, tucked between older homes with wide porches and yards thick with fallen leaves. Spokane's suburbs wore autumn well. All golden light and crisp air, the kind of morning that should have felt peaceful. Adam parked near the playground, where a handful of other families scattered across the grass. A boy pushed a toy truck through with chips. 2 women talked on a bench while a toddler climbed the slide stairs. Normal. Safe. Rose slept in her carrier, her tiny chest rising and falling beneath a knit blanket Shirley's aunt had made. 4 months old, and already she looked like Shirley. Same delicate features, same dark lashes. Adam reached back from the driver's seat and adjusted the blanket, tucking it higher against the morning chill. "She's fine," Shirley said, but she smiled when she said it. For a moment, it was just them, just the 3 of them, and Adam felt that fragile warmth he'd been chasing since Rose was born, the sense that they were building something good. Then Amber's silver sedan pulled into the lot. Adam watched her get out, a tall woman in her late 60s with steel gray hair, cut short and sharp. She wore expensive athletic wear, the kind that cost more than it needed to, and walked with the purposeful stride of someone who expected attention, expected deference. "There's my girl," she called, striding toward them. Shirley brightened. "Hi, Mom." Amber kissed her daughter's cheek, then peered into the carrier where Rose still dozed. "She's getting fat." "She's healthy," Adam said. Amber's gaze cut to him, cold and assessing. "I wasn't asking you." She turned back to Shirley. "You're feeding her too much. That's what happens when you feed on demand instead of on schedule. She'll have weight problems." Adam unbuckled the carrier, lifting it out with controlled movements. Every muscle in his shoulders felt tight. "She's 4 months old." "Exactly. Bad habits start early." Amber walked ahead toward the path that wound through the park. "Are you coming, or are you going to stand there all day?" They followed. What else could they do? The path curved past maple trees dropping red leaves, then opened onto a sloping lawn that rolled down toward a small pond. Other families had claimed the flat areas near the playground, spreading blankets, pushing swings. Adam guided the stroller. They transferred Rose while she slept toward a bench under an oak tree. Neutral ground, safe distance from the hill's edge. But Amber had other ideas. "Let's go down by the water," she said. "Better view." "The stroller doesn't do well on slopes," Adam replied evenly. "Then carry her." "She's asleep, Mom," Shirley said, her voice tentative. "Let's just stay here." Amber's expression soured. "You coddle that child. Both of you." She looked at Adam. "Especially you. That's why she cries all the time. She doesn't know who her father is. You're never home." He crawled up Adam's neck. He counted to 3, breathing through his nose. "I'm home every evening by 6. "And you work from home twice a week," Shirley added quietly. "Working." Amber's laugh was sharp. "Sitting at a computer isn't being present. When was the last time you just held her? Just spent time with your daughter without checking your phone?" This morning, Adam thought. Last night at 2 a.m. when she wouldn't settle. Yesterday afternoon when Shirley needed a shower and he'd walked Rose around the house for 40 minutes, bouncing and humming until she finally calmed. He said nothing. Rose stirred, her small face scrunching. Then came the cry, that high, piercing newborn wail that could cut through walls. Adam crouched beside the stroller, rocking it gently, making soft, shushing sounds. Sometimes that worked. Sometimes. Not today. The crying intensified. Rose's face reddened, her tiny fists pumping. For God's sake. Amber stepped forward. You're spoiling her. She's hungry, Shirley said, already reaching into the diaper bag. I'll feed her. She's manipulating you. Amber's voice rose over the crying. This is exactly what I'm talking about. You respond to every little whimper, and now look, she's a terror. Adam's hands tightened on the stroller handle. She's a baby, she's a crybaby, and you're making it worse. Mom, please. We don't need a crybaby like this. Amber's hand shot out. She grabbed the stroller handle and shoved. Hard. Time fractured. The stroller lurched forward, wheels spinning, racing down the slope toward the pond. Adam's brain screamed and his body moved. Legs pumping, arms reaching, the world narrowing to a single point. His daughter, hurtling away from him. The stroller picked up speed. 20 feet. 30. Rose's cries turned to shrieks. Adam ran faster than he'd ever run. His foot caught on something, a root, a hole, and he nearly went down but caught himself, lungs burning, vision tunneling. The stroller hit a bump near the bottom of the hill and went airborne for a heart-stopping second. It landed hard, tilted, started to flip. Adam dove. His hands found the handle just as the stroller tipped toward the shallow ditch that bordered the pond. He wrenched it back, the weight nearly pulling him over, but he held on. Held tight. The stroller righted itself with a jarring thud. Rose screamed, terrified but alive. Adam's hands shook as he unbuckled her, lifting her out, pressing her against his chest. She was solid and warm and breathing, her cries frantic but strong. He held her so tight he worried he might hurt her, but he couldn't let go. Couldn't stop the trembling that had seized his entire body. Footsteps pounded down the hill. Shirley reached them first, her face bone white, eyes huge with terror. Oh God, oh God, she reached for Rose, checking her over with shaking hands. Is she hurt? Adam, is she? She's okay. His voice didn't sound like his own. Flat, distant. She's okay. They both turned to look up the hill. Amber stood at the top, silhouetted against the autumn sky. She wasn't running toward them, wasn't calling out, just standing there, arms crossed, her expression unreadable from this distance. But Adam saw it, in the set of her shoulders, the tilt of her head. She wasn't sorry. Shirley started climbing, her movements jerky with adrenaline. Mom, what did you do? Adam followed more slowly. Rose clutched against him. His daughter's cries had subsided to hiccuping whimpers. He felt the warmth of her breath against his neck, the frantic beating of her tiny heart. By the time he reached the top, Shirley was already there, her voice high and strained. She could have been killed. The stroller could have. Mom, what were you thinking? Amber's expression remained cool, dismissive. She was fine. You're both too sensitive. She brushed at her sleeve as if removing dust. The stroller barely rolled. You're being dramatic. Dramatic? Adam's voice came out quiet. Too quiet. She went 30 feet down a hill toward pond. And you caught her. So what's the problem? Shirley's hands covered her mouth. I can't believe you just. I gave it a little push. The brake should have been on if you were so worried. Amber's eyes fixed on Adam. Maybe if you bought better equipment instead of wasting money on. Adam turned and walked away. He heard Shirley calling after him, heard the two of them arguing in tense, hushed voices. He kept walking, got Rose buckled in her car seat, sat in the driver's seat with the door closed, windows up, just breathing. Rose had finally quieted, exhausted from crying. She gazed up at him with dark, solemn eyes. I've got you, he whispered. I've got you, baby girl. He waited 15 minutes before Shirley got in the passenger seat. She didn't speak. Neither did he. The drive home felt endless. That night, the house carried a weight that pressed down on everything. Adam moved through it like a ghost, feeding Rose, changing her, walking her around the living room while Shirley made dinner neither of them would eat. The kitchen light seemed too bright. Every sound felt amplified. Amber sat at their dining table drinking tea. She'd driven herself over, let herself in with the spare key Shirley had given her years ago. Now she sat there like she belonged, like she hadn't nearly killed their daughter 6 hours ago, her expression serene as she scrolled through her phone. Adam stood in the kitchen doorway, his hand gripping the frame hard enough to hurt. "You need to leave," he said. Amber didn't look up. "Shirley invited me for dinner." "I didn't." Shirley stood at the stove, stirring something that smelled like tomato sauce. "I told her we were tired, but she wanted to make sure Rose was okay." "Rose is fine." "No thanks to her." Now Amber looked up. "Are we really going to do this?" "You caught the stroller. It's over. Move on." Adam stepped into the kitchen. Shirley shot him a pleading look, but he ignored it. "She pushed our daughter down a hill. Are you really just going to sit there and pretend that's normal?" "It was an accident," Shirley said quietly. "It wasn't. Adam." "She shoved the stroller on purpose, Shirley. I was standing right there. I saw her do it." Amber set her teacup down with deliberate care. "You're imagining things. You're stressed from work, and you're projecting." "Projecting?" Adam's laugh came out bitter. "That's what we're calling attempted murder now." "Oh, for God's sake. She could have died." The words tore out of him, louder than he meant. "The stroller was going straight for the ditch. If I hadn't caught it." "But you did." Amber's voice turned sharp. "You did catch it, and everyone is fine, and you're making drama as usual. Maybe if you were a better husband, your wife wouldn't be so stressed all the time." Something cold settled into Adam's chest, ice spreading through his veins, freezing everything soft, everything warm. "Get out of my house." "Adam." Shirley's voice cracked. "Please just—" "I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to her." He kept his gaze locked on Amber. "Get out." Amber stood slowly, smoothing her clothes. "You don't get to talk to me like that. This is my daughter's home, too." "Not anymore." Adam moved toward the phone on the counter. "You have 60 seconds before I call the police and report what happened today." "You wouldn't dare." Adam picked up the phone. Shirley rushed between them, her hands up, tears streaming down her face. "Stop it, both of you. Just stop." She turned to her mother. "Mom, maybe you should go. Just for tonight. Let everyone calm down." Amber's expression turned cold. She gathered her purse, her movements sharp with anger. "Fine, but don't come crying to me when he gets worse. This is just the beginning, sweetheart. Men like him, they show you who they really are eventually." She walked out. The door closed with a control click. The silence that followed felt suffocating. Shirley turned to Adam, her face blotchy with tears. "How could you? She's my mother." She pushed Rose down a hill. "It was an accident." "She didn't mean." "Yes, she did." Adam's voice came out flat. "Dead. She looked me in the eye before she did it, and she pushed. On purpose." "You're wrong. You have to be wrong." Shirley wrapped her arms around herself. She wouldn't hurt Rose. She wouldn't. From the living room, Rose started to cry again, that exhausted, overtired wail that meant a long night ahead. Adam moved toward the sound automatically, his body responding even as his mind went numb. "Where are you going?" Shirley called after him. "To take care of our daughter." He spent the next hour walking Rose around the living room, bouncing her gently, humming songs his own mother had sung to him as a child. Old folk songs, meaningless melodies that somehow soothed. Rose's cries gradually faded to whimpers, then to quiet breathing. She felt impossibly light in his arms. Fragile, precious, worth protecting. When she finally slept, Adam laid her in the bassinet with infinite care. Then he grabbed a pillow and blanket from the closet and made up the couch. Shirley appeared in the doorway. "What are you doing?" "Sleeping here." "Adam, please. Can we just talk about this?" He sat down on the couch, pulled the blanket over his legs. "What's there to talk about? You don't believe me. You're going to keep letting her come around. And I'm not going to watch her hurt Rose again." "She won't." "Yes, she will." Adam looked at his wife, really looked at her, saw the exhaustion, the confusion, the desperate need to believe her mother wasn't capable of malice. "And next time, I might not catch the stroller. I might not be there." Shirley's face crumpled. "I don't know what you want me to do. Choose us. Choose your daughter. That's not fair. She's my mother, and Rose is our child." They stared at each other across the darkened room. The distance between them felt vast, unbridgeable. Finally, Shirley turned and walked away. Adam laid down on the couch, staring at the ceiling, listening to his daughter breathe. Sleep didn't come, but something else did. A clarity, cold and sharp and absolute. He would never trust Amber again. Never let her near Rose unsupervised. Never look away. And if that meant his marriage fell apart, then that was the price he'd pay. Because some things mattered more than peace. The days that followed carried a strange, suffocating rhythm. Adam went to work, came home, took care of Rose, slept on a couch. Shirley moved through the house like a specter, there but not there, present but absent. They spoke in logistics. Rose needs diapers. I'll be home late. Can you pick up milk? And nothing else. Amber kept coming. She'd show up in the afternoons with groceries nobody asked for. She'd fold laundry and reorganize the kitchen cabinets and make pointed comments about dust on the baseboards. She'd hold Rose, always when Adam wasn't in the room, always with Shirley standing right there, and whisper things he couldn't quite hear. But he saw the effect. Shirley grew more withdrawn, more uncertain. She stopped meeting his eyes when he came home from work, stopped asking how his day had been. The warmth between them, already strained after Rose's birth and the sleepless nights, froze into something brittle. One Tuesday afternoon, Adam came home early to find Amber in their living room, sitting in his chair, Rose on her lap. "What are you doing?" The words came out harder than he intended. Amber looked up slowly. "Spending time with my granddaughter." "Is that a crime?" "Where's Shirley?" "Taking a nap. The poor girl is exhausted." She bounced Rose lightly. "You're working her too hard. She does everything around here while you're off at the office." Adam crossed the room and lifted Rose from her arms. His daughter made a small sound of protest at being moved, but settled against his shoulder. "I think it's time for you to go. I'm helping my daughter. By telling her I'm a bad husband?" Amber's smile didn't reach her eyes. "I only tell her the truth. That you're too strict with the baby. That you don't appreciate what Shirley does. That you've changed since Rose was born." She stood, smoothing her pants. "I'm trying to protect her from making the same mistakes I did." "What mistakes?" "Staying too long with the wrong man." The words hung in the air between them, sharp and deliberate. Adam kept his voice level. "Get out. He doesn't love you like he used to." Amber called toward the bedroom, loud enough for Shirley to hear. "You see it, don't you, sweetheart? How cold he's become." Shirley appeared in the hallway, her hair mussed from sleep. "Mom, what?" "She was just leaving." Adam moved toward the door, Rose still in his arms. He held it open. Amber gathered her things with exaggerated slowness, making sure Shirley saw every calculated movement. At the threshold, she paused. "Think about what I said, darling. You have options." Then she left. Shirley stared at Adam across the room. "What did she mean by that?" "Probably that you should divorce me." "Don't be ridiculous." "Ask her." Adam closed the door. "Next time she's here, ask her what options she meant." But he knew Shirley wouldn't want to hear the answer. That night, he couldn't sleep. He lay on the couch in the darkness, listening to the house settle, thinking about the way Amber had held Rose. Rough, impatient, like the baby was an object to be managed rather than a person to be cherished. He thought about the hill, about the cold calculation in Amber's eyes before she pushed, about how easy it would be for her to do something like that again. The thought kept him awake until dawn. When Shirley came into the living room the next morning, Adam was already up, feeding Rose a bottle while researching lawyers on his phone. "What are you doing?" she asked. "Reading." "About what?" He looked at her directly. "Custody arrangements." Her face went white. "Adam, I won't let her hurt Rose again. If you can't keep your mother away, then I need to make sure Rose is somewhere safe." "You're talking about taking my daughter away from me?" "I'm talking about protecting her. There's a difference." Shirley's hand shook. "You're insane. This is insane." "Maybe." Adam set his phone down, adjusted Rose in his arms. "But I'd rather be insane than bury my daughter." "She's not going to. Nothing's going to happen. You don't know that." His voice remained calm. "Certain. And I'm not willing to bet Rose's life on your faith in a woman who's already shown us what she's capable of." Shirley backed away, her eyes filling with tears. "I don't even know who you are anymore." Adam didn't respond, just held his daughter close and listened to her breathe. 3 days later, everything changed. Adam had started working from home full-time. He'd explained it to his boss as needing flexibility with a new baby, which was true enough. But the real reason sat heavier in his gut. He couldn't leave Rose alone with Shirley anymore. Not when Amber had a key. Not when she could show up anytime. He tried to be subtle about it. Tried to make it seem natural. But Shirley knew. The tension in the house had become thick enough to taste metallic and bitter, like blood in your mouth after biting your tongue. That Wednesday afternoon felt different from the moment Adam woke. October had given way to early November, and the sky hung low and gray, pressing down on the world. Rose had been fussy all morning, the kind of crying that spiked straight through your skull. Teething, maybe, or just sensing the stress that filled every room. Adam walked her around the house, bouncing gently, singing softly. She'd calm for a few minutes, then start up again. By noon, his back ached and his patience was wearing thin. "I need to run to the store," Shirley said from the kitchen doorway. She wore her jacket, keys already in hand. "I'll come with you." "Adam, I'm just getting groceries." "Then we'll all go." Her jaw tightened. "I need space. An hour alone. Is that too much to ask?" He wanted to say yes. Wanted to insist. But the exhaustion in her voice stopped him. "Fine. Just be back by 2. I have a meeting." She nodded and left without kissing either of them goodbye. Adam stood in the living room, Rose whimpering against his shoulder, and felt something dark curl in his stomach. Foreboding. Dread. He shook it off. Checked his phone. 1:15 p.m. 45 minutes until his meeting. He could handle 45 minutes. Rose finally settled, her breathing evening out into the rhythm of sleep. Adam laid her in the playpen they kept in the living room, then grabbed his laptop. He just pulled up his meeting notes when he heard it. Voices. Outside. He crossed to the window and looked out at the backyard. Amber stood by the small pond they'd installed last spring, maybe 15 feet across and 3 feet deep at its center. She was supposed to be on vacation. Shirley had mentioned something about her mother visiting a friend in Seattle. But there she was, wearing dark clothes, her posture rigid. And she was holding Rose. Adam's heart stopped. He ran. Through the house, out the back door, his shoes slipping on wet grass. "What you doing?" Amber turned, and in her face he saw something he'd never seen before. Not anger, not frustration, hatred. "Stop crying." She shook Rose, actually shook her, the baby's head snapping back and forth. "Useless baby, just like your mother was. Put her down." Adam's voice came out as a roar. Amber looked at him, looked at Rose, then threw the baby into the pond. The splash seemed to happen in slow motion. Rose hit the water with a crack that tore through Adam's chest. Then she was sinking, her small body disappearing beneath the gray surface, and Adam dove. Cold shock through him, his clothes immediately heavy, pulling him down. The pond was deeper than it looked, murky with autumn leaves. He swept his arms through the water, panic making his movements clumsy. His hand touched something soft. Rose. He grabbed her, pulled her up, broke the surface gasping. She was limp in his arms. Silent. No, no, no. He waded toward the edge, stumbling, his legs numb with cold. Got out of the pond and laid her on the grass. She wasn't breathing. Infant CPR. He'd taken a class. 2 fingers on her chest, just below the nipple line. 30 compressions. 2 rescue breaths. He worked automatically, his mind blank with terror, water streaming from his clothes, from Rose's clothes. She coughed. Water came up, then more coughing, then that beautiful, angry cry that meant she was breathing, she was alive, she was okay. Adam pulled her against him, pressing his face in her wet hair, his whole body shaking so hard he thought he might fly apart. It was an accident. Amber's voice came from behind him, weak and thin. Adam turned. She stood at the pond's edge, her arms wrapped around herself. No remorse in her face. No horror at what she'd done. Just fear that she'd been caught. "You threw her." Adam's voice didn't sound like his own. "Too calm. Too cold. I watched you throw my daughter into the water. She wouldn't stop crying. I was just trying to what? Kill her." Adam stood, Rose clutched against his chest. His daughter was still coughing, still crying, but her color looked good. No blue lips. No gasping. "That's what you just tried to do. You tried to kill my baby. Don't be dramatic. The pond is shallow. She would have been fine. She wasn't breathing when I pulled her out." The words hung in the autumn air. Somewhere a bird called. A car drove past on the street. The world kept turning while Adam's entire universe shrank to the tiny, shivering child in his arms. Amber's expression shifted, hardened. You don't deserve to be a father. Look at you. You make everyone miserable. Shirley was happy before you. Stable. Now she's a mess, and it's your fault. Get away from us. You've poisoned her against me. Turned her into someone who doubts her own mother. Get away from my daughter. Adam's voice dropped to something barely above a whisper. Or I swear to God. What? What are you going to do? Amber took a step forward. Hit me? Go ahead. Show Shirley what you really are. Adam's free hand curled into a fist. Every muscle in his body screamed to move, to fight, to make her hurt the way she'd try to hurt Rose. But he held still. If you ever come near my daughter again, he said quietly, I'll call the police. I'll press charges for attempted murder. I will make sure everyone knows what you did. Amber's laugh was ugly. Shirley will never believe you. Then let's find out. He turned and walked toward the house, Rose crying against his shoulder. His clothes dripped a trail across the grass. Behind him, he heard Amber follow. You can't prove anything. It's my word against yours. Adam didn't respond, just kept walking. Inside, he grabbed his phone with shaking hands and dialed 911. Amber stood in the doorway, her face going pale. I'd like to report a child endangerment incident, Adam said when the operator answered. His voice sounded strange, too steady considering everything. My mother-in-law threw my 4-month-old daughter into a pond. I had to perform CPR. She's breathing now, but she needs to be checked by a doctor. Sir, what's your location? He gave the address. Watched Amber's face cycle through shock, anger, fear. I didn't. It was an accident, she started. Adam ended the call. Tell it to the police. You'll regret this, Amber hissed. Shirley will never forgive you. I know. The ambulance arrived first. Paramedics checked Rose over. Her vitals were good, but they wanted to transport her to the hospital for observation. Water inhalation could cause complications hours later. Adam rode with them, still soaked, still shivering, his hand wrapped around Rose's tiny foot. The police came to the hospital. 2 officers, a man and a woman, both professional and thorough. They took his statement, photographed Rose's bruises, finger marks on her arms where Amber had gripped her, documented everything. The water temperature was 45 degrees, Adam told them. His voice had gone flat, clinical. She wasn't breathing when I pulled her out. I did CPR for maybe 30 seconds before she responded. The female officer, whose name tag read Martinez, wrote everything down. And your mother-in-law, where is she now? At my house, probably, unless she ran. They found her there. By the time Shirley got home from a grocery store, her mother was being questioned in the living room. Adam heard Shirley's car pull up, heard the front door open. Then her voice, high and panicked. What's happening? Where's Adam? Where's Rose? A low rumble of explanation from the officers. Then Shirley screamed. Adam sat in the hospital room, holding Rose, and listened to his marriage end. Shirley burst into the room an hour later, her face streaked with tears. What happened? The police said. They said Mom threw Rose in the pond. She did. That's impossible. She wouldn't. Adam looked at his wife, really looked at her, saw the desperation in her eyes, the need to believe this was all some terrible mistake. I came home early, he said quietly. I heard voices outside. Amber was by the pond with Rose. She was shaking her, yelling at her. Then she threw her into the water. No. Shirley shook her head violently. No, you're wrong. You're misremembering. Rose wasn't breathing when I pulled her out. I had to do CPR. His voice remained steady. Factual. The paramedics confirmed water in her lungs. The doctors found bruises where your mother grabbed her. It had to be an accident. She was probably just trying to calm her down, and she slipped. She looked me in the eye and threw her in the water, Shirley. You're lying. The words burst out of her, raw and desperate. You hate her so much you'd lie about something like this. I called 911, filed a police report. They have my statement. They have photographs. They have witness testimony from the paramedics who saw Rose's condition. Adam adjusted his grip on Rose, who slept peacefully now, safe in his arms. I'm not lying. And somewhere Deep down, you know that. Shirley's legs seemed to give out. She sank into the chair beside the hospital bed, her face crumbling. She didn't mean it. She couldn't have meant it. She did. Adam, please. If you choose her, he said quietly, you lose us. That's not a threat. That's a fact. Shirley looked at him with red, swollen eyes. How can you make me choose between my mother and my daughter? I'm not. She did that when she hurt Rose. Adam stood, carrying Rose toward the door. Think about what matters more. Think about who you want to protect. Where are you going? To find out when we could take Rose home. He walked out of the room and didn't look back. The hospital kept Rose overnight for observation. Adam stayed with her, dozing in an uncomfortable chair while monitors beeped and nurses checked vitals every few hours. Shirley sat in a different chair across the room, silent as stone, her phone clutched in her hands. Around midnight, her phone buzzed. Adam saw the way her face changed when she looked at the screen. It's Mom, Shirley whispered. She wants to explain. Don't. I have to hear her side. There is no other side. The words came out harsher than Adam intended. Rose stirred in her hospital crib, but didn't wake. He lowered his voice. She threw our baby into cold water. She could have died. What possible explanation makes that okay? Shirley's thumb hovered over her phone. She's my mother, and Rose is our daughter. They stared at each other across the dim hospital room. The machines beeped. Somewhere down the hall, someone coughed. Shirley answered the phone. Adam listened to one side of the conversation. Shirley's voice soft and soothing, full of reassurances he couldn't quite hear but could easily imagine. It's okay, Mom. I know you didn't mean it. Yes, he's being unreasonable. No, I don't think you should come to the hospital right now. When she hung up, Adam was already gathering his things. What are you doing? Shirley asked. Getting my daughter away from you. Adam, you just told the woman who tried to kill Rose that everything's okay. His voice came out dead, emotionless. So I'm done. I'm getting a lawyer. I'm filing for emergency custody. And I'm making sure Rose is never in a room with Amber again. You can't do that. Watch me. Shirley stood, blocking his path. Please, can we just talk about this? Can we figure this out? There's nothing to figure out. You chose. I didn't choose anyone. I'm trying to hold my family together. By protecting the person who hurt our child, Adam shifted Rose in his arms, careful not to wake her. That's not holding a family together. That's enabling a monster. The word hung between them. Monster. Shirley's face twisted with pain. She's not a monster. She's sick. She's been under so much stress since Dad died. Don't. Adam's voice cut through her excuses. Don't make excuses for attempted murder. Don't tell me about stress or grief or whatever you think justifies what she did. Nothing justifies it. Nothing. So what? You're just going to take Rose and leave. Blow up our marriage. You already did that when you answer her phone call. Adam moved past her, careful not to jostle Rose. A nurse looked up as he approached the station. I need to speak to someone about security, he said. My mother-in-law is not allowed near my daughter under any circumstances. If she shows up, I want her removed immediately. The nurse's expression softened with understanding. We'll make a note in the file, Mr. Cole. I'll alert the security team. Thank you. Behind him, Shirley was crying. Adam didn't turn around. They discharged Rose the next morning with instructions to watch for respiratory distress and to follow up with her pediatrician within 48 hours. Adam carried her out to the car, while Shirley trailed behind, silent and hollow-eyed. The drive home was suffocating. Neither of them spoke. Rose dozed in her car's seat, oblivious to the wreckage of her parents' marriage. When they pulled into the driveway, Amber's car sat in front of their house. No, Adam didn't put the car in park. Absolutely not. Adam, wait. Get her out of here. Right now. Or I'm calling the police again. Shirley's hand went to the door handle. Just give me 5 minutes. Let me talk to her. 5 minutes. Then she leaves, or I file a restraining order. Shirley got out and walked toward her mother's car. Through the windshield, Adam watched them talk. Watched Amber gesturing emphatically, her face twisted with emotion. Watched Shirley nodding, crying, trying to mediate the impossible. 6 minutes passed. 7. Adam took out his phone. At 8 minutes, Shirley returned to the car. She wants to apologize. She wants to explain what happened. No, Adam, please. Just let her say what she needs to say, and then she'll leave. I promise. Your promises don't mean anything anymore. The words landed like a slap. Shirley flinched back, her eyes filling with fresh tears. Adam dialed 911. What are you doing? Calling the police. Adam, don't. You had your chance. You had 8 minutes, and you still couldn't tell her to leave. You pressed the call button, so I'm doing it for you. Shirley scrambled out of the car, running toward her mother. Adam watched through the rearview mirror as she said something, urgent and panicked. Amber's face went dark with rage. She pointed at Adam, shouted something he couldn't hear. Then she got her car and drove away. The 911 operator answered. 911, what's your emergency? False alarm, Adam said. Sorry for the confusion. He ended the call. When Shirley got back in the car, her face was like stone. She's gone. Are you happy? No. Adam put the car in park and unbuckled his seatbelt. I'm not happy. I'm just trying to keep our daughter alive. Inside the house, the silence felt oppressive. Adam set up the playpen in his home office, where he could watch Rose while he worked. Made sure all the doors were locked. Changed a spare key hiding spot. Shirley disappeared into their bedroom. That night, she came into the living room where Adam was setting up the couch again. We need to talk. Go ahead. I can't do this anymore. Her voice was small, broken. The fighting, the accusations, the way you look at me now. How do I look at you? Like I'm the enemy. Adam pulled the blanket smooth, his movements careful, deliberate. You chose to protect the person who hurt Rose. What am I supposed to think? I'm trying to protect everyone. My mother, my daughter, my marriage. You can't protect everyone. Not when one of them is trying to kill another one. She wasn't trying to kill her. It was an accident. Adam's control snapped. He turned on her, the full force of his anger finally breaking through. She threw a 4-month-old baby into freezing water. She shook her hard enough to leave bruises. She stood there while I did CPR and tried to justify it. His voice rose with each sentence. At what point does it stop being an accident? At what point do you admit your mother is dangerous? Don't yell at me. Then stop defending her. Rose's cry pierced through the house, startled awake by the shouting. Adam's anger drained away instantly, replaced by guilt. He headed for his office. Shirley followed. I'm not defending what she did. I'm just trying to understand. There's nothing to understand. Adam lifted Rose from the playpen, bouncing her gently. Your mother has been cruel to me since the day we met. She's manipulative, controlling, and abusive. And now she's escalated to physical violence against our child. He looked at Shirley over their daughter's head. If you can't see that, then we have nothing left to talk about. So that's it. You're just going to end our marriage. You ended it when you called her after she threw Rose in the pond. Shirley's face crumpled. She stood there for a long moment, tears streaming down her face, then turned and walked away. Adam heard their bedroom door close. He held Rose close, swaying gently, humming the old folk songs. His daughter's cries faded to whimpers, then to quiet breathing. She felt so small in his arms, so vulnerable. I've got you, he whispered. Nobody's going to hurt you again. I promise. And this time, he meant to keep it. The days crawled by in painful increments. Adam worked from his home office, Rose's playpen always within sight. He installed a security camera pointed at the front door, changed all the locks, made sure Shirley's key to Amber's house was no longer on their key ring. Shirley moved through the house like a ghost. They communicated in brief, essential exchanges. She'd feed Rose when Adam was in a meeting. He'd change diapers when she was showering. They took turns sleeping on the couch, neither willing to share the bed anymore. On the 8th day, Shirley's lawyer called. Adam was feeding Rose when his phone rang. He didn't recognize the number, but answered anyway. Mr. Cole? This is Jennifer Hartwell from Hartwell and Associates. I'm calling on behalf of your wife, Shirley Cole. I settled in Adam's stomach. Okay. Mrs. Cole would like to inform you that she's filing for separation. We'll be sending the papers to your address today. On what grounds? A pause. She's citing irreconcilable differences and an unsafe environment. Adam almost laughed. Unsafe environment. Yes, sir. She's concerned about your aggressive behavior toward her mother. My aggressive behavior. Adam set Rose's bottle down carefully. Did she mention that her mother threw our daughter into a pond and I had to perform CPR? Mr. Cole, I'm not here to debate the situation. I'm simply informing you of the filing. You'll want to retain counsel of your own. I already have. He called 3 lawyers the day after the hospital. 2 hadn't called back. 1 had agreed to meet with him next week. Tell Shirley that if she wants separation, she can have it. But I'm filing for full custody of Rose. Mr. Cole, and I'll be requesting an immediate emergency custody order based on the police report from the pond incident. You should probably inform your client that her mother will be mentioned extensively in those proceedings. Sir, that's not. Tell her. Adam ended the call. His hand shook. Rose made a small sound, and he picked the bottle back up, forcing his breathing to steady. It's okay, baby girl. It's going to be okay. But he didn't know if that was true. The papers arrived that afternoon by courier. Adam read through them in his office while Rose napped. Shirley was asking for primary custody, citing his unstable mental state and aggressive tendencies. She wanted the house, wanted him to move out immediately, wanted Amber to have full visitation rights as grandmother. That last part made Adam's vision narrow. He read it 3 times to make sure he wasn't misunderstanding. Petitioner requests that maternal grandmother, Amber Mitchell, be granted supervised visitation with a minor child, with supervision provided by petitioner. Supervised by Shirley, the same woman who'd answered Amber's phone call in the hospital. The same woman who kept insisting it had all been an accident. Adam called his lawyer. I need to file an emergency motion, he said when Jennifer, his lawyer, different Jennifer, answered. Today, if possible. Tell me what's happening. He explained about the separation papers, about Amber's requested visitation, about his fear that Shirley would leave Rose alone with her mother the moment he was out of the house. I'll file within the hour, Jennifer said. But Adam, you need to understand, emergency custody orders are hard to get. You'll need to prove imminent danger. I have a police report, hospital records, photographs of bruises. That helps. But if your wife is willing to testify that she believes her mother is safe, then what? I just hand Rose over and hope Amber doesn't finish what she started. A long pause. I'll do everything I can, but you should prepare yourself for the possibility that you'll have to share custody, at least temporarily. Adam looked at Rose sleeping in her playpen. 4 months old, helpless, dependent on him to keep her safe. File the motion, he said. We'll figure out the rest later. That night, Adam knocked on the bedroom door. Shirley opened it, her eyes red and swollen. We need to talk, he said. She stepped aside to let him in. The room that had been theirs now felt like foreign territory. Shirley's clothes covered the chair, her books stacked on the nightstand. His side of the bed was already made, the pillows arranged like he'd never been there. I got the separation papers, he said. I know. You're really asking for your mother to have visitation? Shirley's jaw set. She's Rose's grandmother. She has a right. She has no rights. Adam's voice rose, but he caught himself, lowered it. She forfeited any rights when she tried to drown our daughter. It was an accident. Stop saying that. Adam moved closer, his voice dropping to something almost pleading. Shirley, please. I know you want to believe that. I know you need to believe your mother isn't capable of that kind of evil. But she is. She did it. I watched her do it. You're wrong. The police believe me. The hospital believes me. The only person who doesn't believe me is you. Tears spilled down Shirley's cheeks. Because if I believe you, then everything I know about my mother is a lie. Everything she taught me, everything we shared, it would all be poisoned. So you'd rather risk Rose's life than face the truth? She's my mother, and Rose is our daughter. Adam's voice cracked. When did your mother become more important than your own child? Shirley turned away, her shoulders shaking with silent sobs. I can't do this. I can't choose. You already did. Adam moved toward the door. I filed for emergency custody today. Full custody with supervised visitation for you until we can ensure Rose's safety. Shirley whirled around. What? I won't let you give Amber access to Rose. If that means taking you to court, then that's what I'll do. You can't do that. I'm her mother. Then act like it. Adam's voice went cold. Put Rose first. Tell your mother she can never see her again. Choose your daughter over the woman who tried to kill her. Get out. Gladly, he left, closing the door behind him. Stood in the hallway for a long moment, fighting the urge to put his fist through the wall. This was really happening. His marriage was ending. He was going to court. He was going to have to fight for custody of his own daughter. But Rose would be safe. That was all that mattered. The courthouse smelled like floor polish and stale coffee. Adam sat on a bench outside Family Court Division 3, his lawyer beside him, reviewing notes on her tablet. Across the hall, Shirley sat with her lawyer, a man in an expensive suit who kept checking his watch like he had somewhere better to be. They didn't look at each other. It had been 3 weeks since Shirley filed for separation. 3 weeks of emergency motions and counter-motions, of statements and affidavits, of a temporary custody arrangement that gave Adam primary physical custody with supervised visits for Shirley twice a week. The supervisor was a court-appointed social worker named Patricia who wrote everything down in a notebook and never smiled. Amber hadn't been allowed anywhere near the proceedings. "They're ready for us," Jennifer said, standing. Adam followed her into the courtroom. It was smaller than he'd expected, just a judge's bench, a few tables, some chairs. Not the dramatic setting he'd seen in movies. More like a conference room with wood paneling. Judge Morrison was a woman in her 50s with gray hair and reading glasses perched on her nose. She looked tired. "Good morning," she said without preamble. "I've reviewed the filings in Cole versus Cole. This is a preliminary hearing to determine temporary custody arrangements pending the final decree. Mr. Cole, you're requesting full physical and legal custody with supervised visitation for Mrs. Cole." "Yes, Your Honor." Adam's lawyer stood. "Based on documented child endangerment by the maternal grandmother and Mrs. Cole's refusal to acknowledge the danger. And Mrs. Cole, you're requesting joint physical custody with primary residence?" Shirley's lawyer rose. "Yes, Your Honor. We believe Mr. Cole is overreacting to an unfortunate accident and using it to manipulate the custody arrangement." Unfortunate accident. Judge Morrison glanced at her computer screen. "I have a police report here detailing an incident in which the maternal grandmother threw a 4-month-old infant into a pond. The infant required CPR and hospital observation. That's the accident we're discussing." Shirley's lawyer shifted his weight. "The circumstances are disputed, Your Honor." "How so?" "Mrs. Cole believes her mother may have slipped while holding the child. She told me she threw her." Adam's voice cut across the room. His lawyer touched his arm, warning him to be quiet, but he couldn't stop. "She stood there and tried to justify it. Said the baby wouldn't stop crying. Said we were spoiling her." Judge Morrison looked at him directly. "Mr. Cole, you'll have time to testify. For now, please let the attorneys speak." But her expression had shifted, hardened. The hearing lasted 90 minutes. Adam testified about the hill, the pond, the hospital, about Amber's pattern of verbal abuse and manipulation, about Shirley's refusal to protect Rose. Shirley testified that he was paranoid, controlling, that he'd changed since Rose was born, became suspicious and aggressive, that he was alienating her from her mother and now from her daughter. "Your Honor," her lawyer said, standing for his closing, "Mr. Cole is clearly struggling with the stress of new parenthood. Rather than seeking help, he's lashing out at his wife and her family. We believe Rose would benefit from the stability of her mother's primary care, with therapeutic visitation for Mr. Cole to work through his issues." Adam's hands clenched under the table. Judge Morrison removed her glasses and rubbed her eyes. "I'm going to be frank with both of you. This is one of the messiest cases I've seen in a while, and that's saying something." She looked at Shirley. "Mrs. Cole, do you believe your mother would harm your daughter?" Shirley's face crumpled. "No, Your Honor. I think there was a misunderstanding that resulted in CPR and hospitalization. She would never intentionally." "Let me ask you this." Judge Morrison leaned forward. "If I grant you primary custody, would you allow your mother unsupervised access to Rose?" Silence. Shirley glanced at her lawyer, who gave a tiny nod. "With supervision, yes. She's Rose's grandmother." Judge Morrison's expression closed off. "I see." She typed something on her computer. "Here's my ruling. Primary physical custody remains with Mr. Cole. Mrs. Cole will have supervised visitation twice weekly, supervision to continue for a minimum of 3 months. At that time, we'll reassess. Maternal grandmother Amber Mitchell is not to have any contact with a minor child, direct or indirect, until further court order. Your Honor, Shirley's lawyer started. I've made my decision. The maternal grandmother threw this child into water cold enough to potentially cause hypothermia. The child required resuscitation. That's not a misunderstanding. That's criminal assault, and frankly, I'm surprised charges haven't been filed. She looked at Adam. Mr. Cole, has the prosecutor's office contacted you? They said they're reviewing the case. I'll be making my own recommendation that they pursue charges. In the meantime, Mrs. Cole, if you want more time with your daughter, I suggest you prioritize her safety over your relationship with your mother. This hearing is adjourned. The gavel struck. Adam sat frozen for a moment, unable to process what had just happened. He'd won. The judge believed him. Rose was safe. Beside him, Jennifer gathered her papers. That was better than I expected. Morrison is tough, but fair. She saw right through the defense. Across the room, Shirley was crying. Her lawyer patted her shoulder awkwardly, already checking his phone. Adam stood and walked out without looking back. The first visitation happened 2 days later at a neutral location, a family center with a playroom and observation windows. Patricia, the social worker, was already there when Adam arrived with Rose. Mrs. Cole is in room 3, Patricia said. You can bring Rose in, then you'll need to wait in the lobby. How long? 2 hours. Adam looked down at Rose and her carrier. She was awake, her dark eyes tracking the movement of people in the hall. 6 months old now, getting bigger every day. Started to roll over, making sounds that almost seemed like words. She hasn't seen her mother in 3 weeks, Adam said quietly. I know. That's why supervised visitation is important. Patricia's voice was kind but firm. Rose needs both her parents. Did she? Adam wanted to ask. Did she need a mother who chose a dangerous woman over her own child's safety? But he didn't say it, just carried Rose into room 3. Shirley stood by the window, her back to the door. When she turned, her face transformed. Oh, my baby. She crossed the room quickly, her hands reaching. She's gotten so big. Adam passed Rose over carefully. Watched his daughter settle into her mother's arms like she'd never left. Watched Shirley's tears fall onto Rose's soft hair. I miss you so much, Shirley whispered. So much. Adam's chest tightened. For a moment, he saw them as they used to be, his wife, his daughter, his family. Before everything shattered. Then he remembered the hospital, the phone call, the custody papers asking for Amber to have visitation rights. He left the room without saying anything. In the lobby, he tried to work on his laptop, but the words on the screen blurred together. He kept checking the time. 2 hours felt eternal. When Patricia finally came to get him, her expression was neutral. Visitation went well. Rose seemed comfortable. Mrs. Cole was appropriate. Good. Mr. Cole, can I speak with you for a moment? They moved to a quiet corner. Patricia pulled out her notebook. I want to be clear about something, she said. My job is to assess whether these visits are in Rose's best interest. Right now, I'm not seeing any concerns with Mrs. Cole's parenting, except that she wants her mother around Rose. She hasn't mentioned her mother during the visit. She hasn't asked about changing the custody arrangement. She's been focused entirely on Rose. Patricia looked at him directly. I understand you're angry. You have every right to be, but Rose needs her mother. If Mrs. Cole continues to prioritize Rose's safety, we need to consider expanding visitation. Not until I'm sure she won't let Amber near her. That's not your decision to make alone. The court gave me primary custody for a reason. Patricia's expression hardened slightly. The court also mandated visitation for a reason. This isn't about punishment, Mr. Cole. It's about what's best for Rose. Adam wanted to argue. Wanted to explain that what was best for Rose was being far away from anyone who'd prioritize a toxic relationship over their child's life. But Patricia was right about one thing. It wasn't just his decision. I hear you, he said finally, but I won't agree to anything that puts Rose at risk. No one's asking you to. The visits continued. Twice a week, Adam drove Rose to the family center. Twice a week, He sat in the lobby for 2 hours while Shirley held their daughter, played with her, read to her. Twice a week, Patricia observed and took notes. And twice a week, Adam went home to an empty house and tried not to think about how much easier everything would be if Shirley had just chosen differently. Life settled into a new rhythm. Adam worked from home, Rose's playpen in his office. He'd hired a part-time nanny, a grandmother named Helen who came 3 days a week so he could focus on work without constantly checking if Rose was breathing. Helen was patient and warm and had raised 4 children of her own. Rose loved her. In the evenings, Adam cooked simple meals and fed Rose her pureed vegetables while music played from his phone. They'd sit on the floor, and he'd read her bored books until she got sleepy. In the same bedtime routine, bath, pajamas, bottle, songs. She'd fall asleep in his arms, and he'd hold her a little longer than necessary, breathing in that sweet baby smell. Some nights, he missed Shirley so much it felt like drowning. Missed having someone to talk to about Rose's new sounds, her growing personality. Missed sharing the small victories and the exhausting struggles. But then he'd remember her defending Amber. Remember her choosing her mother over Rose's safety. Remember the look on her face when she'd said, "I can't choose." And the missing would harden into something else. Not quite anger, not quite grief, just a cold certainty that he'd done the right thing. Months passed. Rose turned 7 months, then 8. She started crawling, started pulling herself up on furniture, started saying "dada" in a way that made Adam's heart swell impossibly large. The divorce proceedings moved forward with excruciating slowness. Depositions, financial disclosures, parenting plans. Adam's lawyer said they were on track for a final decree in another 6 months. 6 months. It would be official. Over. Then one Tuesday afternoon, Shirley called. Adam almost didn't answer. They communicated only through lawyers now, and the occasional brief exchange during visitation handoffs. Hearing her voice would hurt too much, but something made him pick up. "Adam." Her voice was small, broken. "Can we talk?" "About what?" "I need to tell you something. In person. Please." He should have said no, should have redirected her to his lawyer. But the raw pain in her voice made him hesitate. "The coffee shop on Division," he said finally. "Tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. She was already there when he arrived, sitting at a corner table with an untouched latte. She looked thinner than he remembered. Older. There were lines around her eyes that hadn't been there 6 months ago. Adam sat down across from her and waited. "I had a dream," Shirley said without preamble. Her hands wrapped around the coffee cup, knuckles white. "About the pond. I've been having it for weeks, but last night was different. Last night, I finally saw it." "Saw what?" "What you saw." Her eyes filled with tears. Mom holding Rose. The way she shook her. The way she threw her. Her voice broke. The look on her face. "I saw it, Adam. And I finally understood." Adam's chest tightened. He didn't speak. "I went to see her yesterday," Shirley continued. "I told her about the dream. Asked her to tell me the truth about what happened." A tear rolled down her cheek. She said Rose deserved it. Said the baby was a mistake and we should have. She couldn't finish. She said things I can't repeat. "Shirley, I was wrong." The words tumbled out, desperate and raw. "I was so wrong. I should have believed you. I should have protected Rose. I should have chosen you both over her. But I was scared, and I was weak, and I let my fear hurt the people I love most." Adam sat very still. Part of him had imagined this moment. Imagined Shirley finally seeing the truth, finally admitting what Amber was. He'd imagined feeling vindicated, triumphant. He felt neither, just tired. "Why are you telling me this?" he asked quietly. "Because you deserve to know I finally understand. And because," she wiped her eyes with shaking hands, "because I need you to know I'll never let her near Rose again. I've cut her off completely. Changed my number. Told her if she comes near any of us, I'll file charges myself." She looked at him directly. "I know it's too late. I know I destroyed everything. But I need you to know that I'm on Rose's side now. Completely." Adam studied her face, looking for any sign of manipulation or doubt. Found only exhaustion and genuine remorse. "That doesn't change what happened," he said. "I know. It doesn't fix our marriage. I know that too." They sat in silence. Around them, The coffee shop carried on. The hiss of the espresso machine, the low murmur of conversation, the clink of cups on saucers. Normal life, happening all around them while their world stayed broken. "I'm glad you finally see the truth," Adam said eventually. "For Rose's sake, if nothing else. Would you consider revisiting the custody arrangement? I'm not asking for primary custody. I just want more time with her. I want to be her mother again." Adam thought about Patricia's words, about Rose needing both parents, about what was truly best for his daughter. "We'll talk to our lawyers," he said. "See what they think. But Amber stays away. That's non-negotiable. She's out of my life. Permanently." Adam nodded slowly. "Then we'll figure something out." Relief broke across Shirley's face, but it was tinged with sadness. "Thank you." He stood to leave. "Adam," she looked up at him. "For what it's worth, I really am sorry. For all of it." "I know." He met her eyes. "But sorry doesn't mean forgive. And it doesn't mean forget. I understand." He left her there, sitting alone with her cold coffee and her regrets. Outside, the November air bit at his face. Adam sat in his car for a long moment before starting the engine, trying to sort through the tangle of emotions in his chest. Shirley finally believed him, finally saw Amber for what she was. That should have mattered more. But the damage was done. The trust was broken. And while they might eventually work out a better custody arrangement, they'd never be a family again. Not the way they were before. Maybe that was okay. Maybe Rose would grow up with divorced parents who co-parented respectfully. Maybe she'd never know the full story of what her grandmother did, or why her mother took so long to choose the right side. Maybe that would be enough. Adam started the car and drove home to his daughter. The final divorce decree came through on a gray afternoon in January. Adam signed the papers in his lawyer's office, his signature steady and sure. The settlement was fair. Joint legal custody, with Adam maintaining primary physical residence. Generous visitation for Shirley that would increase as Rose got older. Shared holidays according to a carefully negotiated schedule. The house would be sold, proceeds split evenly. Retirement accounts divided. A marriage reduced to a stack of legal documents. "Are you okay?" Jennifer asked when he set down the pen. "Yeah." Adam was surprised to find it was true. "I'm okay." He picked Rose up from Helen's house on the way home. His daughter had just turned 10 months, was pulling herself up on everything, babbling in strings of nonsense syllables that Helen insisted were almost words. "How was she today?" Adam asked. "Perfect as always." Helen handed over the diaper bag with a smile. "She tried the peaches at lunch. Made a terrible mess, but she loved them." "That sounds about right." Helen touched his arm gently. "How are you holding up?" "The divorce is final." "Oh, Adam. I'm sorry." "Don't be. It's for the best." And standing there with Rose on his hip, sticky peach residue still visible on her cheek, Adam realized he meant it. The divorce wasn't a tragedy. It was a necessary ending that had cleared the way for a better beginning. The house sold quickly to a young couple expecting their first child. Adam found a small rental near Lake Coeur d'Alene, about 30 minutes from Spokane. 2 bedrooms, a yard, a view of the water through the trees. Nothing fancy, but clean and safe and peaceful. He moved in on a Saturday in February. Shirley came to help, which felt strange but not wrong. They worked in careful harmony, unpacking boxes, assembling Rose's crib, arranging furniture. Patricia had approved unsupervised visitation 2 weeks ago, and Shirley had been taking Rose every Wednesday evening and every other weekend. The arrangement was working. "This is nice," Shirley said, standing in the living room as the sun set over the lake. "Rose will love it here." "I hope so." She turned to look at him. They'd been civil during the move, even friendly in a distant way. But now something shifted in her expression. "I saw Mom at the grocery store last week," she said quietly. Adam's hands stilled on the box he'd been unpacking. "Did she approach you?" "She tried." "I walked away." Shirley's voice was firm. "She called later. Left a message saying she wants to see Rose. Saying she has rights as a grandmother. She has no rights." "I know. I blocked her number." Shirley crossed her arms, her gaze distant. "Sometimes I wonder if I'm the one who's wrong. If I'm being too harsh." "You're not. How can you be so sure?" Adam thought about the hill, about Rose's small body hurtling down the slope. about the pond, the CPR, the hospital, about all the months of protecting his daughter from someone who should have loved her. Because some people don't deserve forgiveness, he said, and some boundaries aren't negotiable. Shirley nodded slowly. Yeah, I guess you're right. Rose made a sound from her playpen, that distinctive babble that meant she was done playing and wanted attention. They both moved toward her at the same time, then stopped, laughing awkwardly. You go, Shirley said. I should head out anyway. She gathered her things and left with a small wave. Adam lifted Rose from the playpen, held her close. It's just us now, little one. Just you and me in our new place. Rose grabbed his nose and giggled. The months that followed brought a rhythm Adam hadn't expected to find. Work during the day, Rose in Helen's care or playing in her playpen. Evenings of solid food experiments and bath time laughter. Weekends of walks around the lake. Rose strapped to his chest in a carrier, pointing at birds and clouds and anything that moved. On Wednesdays, Shirley picked Rose up for dinner and bedtime, bringing her back Thursday morning. Every other weekend, Rose stayed at Shirley's new apartment in Spokane, a small place with a nursery painted soft yellow. They were co-parenting. It wasn't perfect, and it wasn't what Adam had once imagined when they talked about having kids. But it was working, and more importantly, Rose was thriving. She took her first steps in March, right in the middle of the living room. Adam had been working on his laptop when he heard the thump of her falling on her bottom. He'd looked up to find her pulling herself up again, a determined expression on her tiny face. Then she let go of the coffee table and took 3 wobbling steps before dropping to her knees. Yes, Adam scooped her up, his laptop forgotten. You did it. You walked. He called Shirley immediately, FaceTimed her so Rose could show off her new skill. They celebrated together, separated by miles, but united in their pride. It was a small moment, but it felt significant, like maybe they were finding their way to something that worked. April brought Rose's first birthday. They threw a small party at Adam's rental. Just Helen, a few of Shirley's friends who'd stayed neutral during the divorce, and one of Adam's work colleagues. Rose sat in her high chair wearing a purple birthday dress, demolishing a smash cake while everyone sang. Adam took a photo of her, face covered in frosting, and felt something loosen in his chest. Something he'd been holding tight for a year. She was safe. She was happy. She was loved. That was what mattered. One Saturday in late May, Adam was at the lake with Rose when his phone buzzed. An unknown number. He almost didn't answer, but something made him pick up. Mr. Cole? This is Detective Martinez. We spoke last November about the incident with your daughter. Adam's stomach dropped. Yes, I remember. I wanted to let you know that we've completed our investigation. The prosecutor has decided to move forward with charges against Amber Mitchell. Reckless endangerment and assault on a minor. Adam sat down on the grass, Rose playing beside him with a bucket and shovel. When? She'll be arraigned next month. You may be called to testify. Whatever you need. I also wanted you to know, when we went to serve the warrant, she was belligerent. Claimed you'd manipulated the whole situation. Said some things about wanting to finish what she started. Cold wash through Adam. What? It's on record now. Between that and the evidence from the pond incident, we're confident in the case. Martinez paused. I just thought you should know, in case she tries to make contact. She won't. Adam's voice was firm. We have protective orders in place. Good. Stay vigilant, Mr. Cole. The call ended. Adam sat there, watching Rose play, his mind racing. Finish what she started. Even now, even facing criminal charges, Amber was still dangerous. He pulled Rose onto his lap, held her close. She squirmed, wanting to get back to her bucket, but he held on a moment longer. You're safe, he murmured into her dark hair. I promise. You're safe. The trial happened in August, during one of Shirley's custody weekends. Adam testified for 45 minutes, walking the prosecutor through every detail of that afternoon. The hill, the pond, the CPR, the things Amber had said. Shirley testified too, her voice quiet but steady. She described her mother's behavior, her refusal to accept responsibility, the things she'd said when confronted months later. The defense attorney tried to paint her as a bitter daughter turning on her mother, but Shirley held firm. My mother endangered my child, she said clearly. I will not defend that. The jury deliberated for 3 hours. Guilty on both counts. Amber received 18 months in jail and 5 years probation. A permanent restraining order from Rose and any other minors. Mandatory anger management and psychiatric evaluation. It wasn't enough. Not really. Not for what she tried to do. But it was something. Adam stood outside the courthouse afterward, breathing the late summer air. It was over. Truly over. Shirley found him there. "Thank you," she said, "for protecting her, for being strong enough when I wasn't. You were strong today, only because you showed me how." She smiled sadly. "I know we'll never be what we were, but I'm glad we can be good parents to Rose. Together." "Me too." They stood there for a moment, two people who'd loved each other once, bound now only by their daughter and a shared trauma. Then Shirley left to pick up Rose from a friend who'd been watching her. Adam drove home alone. The seasons turned. Rose grew from toddler to little girl. She learned to talk, to run, to ask endless questions about everything. She called both houses home without confusion. She had friends at her daycare, loved books about animals, and was convinced she could fly if she jumped high enough. Sometimes on quiet Sundays, Adam would take her to the park. Different park, smaller park, but a park nonetheless. They'd swing on the swings and climb the safe, age-appropriate equipment. And sometimes he'd look toward the hills in the distance and remember the terror, the rage, the moment his life had split into before and after. But mostly, he'd watch his daughter laugh, and he'd feel grateful. Grateful he'd caught the stroller. Grateful he'd pulled her from a pond. Grateful he'd been strong enough to walk away from someone who'd asked him to compromise his daughter's safety. On Rose's 3rd birthday, as she blew out candles surrounded by the small, safe family they'd built from the wreckage, Adam thought about that message he'd written years ago. Sometimes, real strength isn't forgiving. It's protecting what's left, and never letting monsters hide behind the word family. He protected her against his wife's doubts, against a court system that wanted to give everyone second chances, against his own exhaustion and heartbreak. He protected her, and she'd thrived. That was enough. That would always be enough.